Hello, Algebra 1 students. So I'm just going to briefly explain the answers in the answer key for the 9.8 Factor Completely assignment due May 18th. So in this assignment, first look for the greatest common factor, and there's a greatest common factor of 2. When you divide all three terms by 2, you'll get what's remaining here in the parentheses, but that also can be factored, okay? The leading coefficient is 1, so just set up your parentheses with a R as the first term in each set of parentheses. And then you look for two numbers, or two factors of 30. Multiplied together give us 30, but added together give us negative 11. So I know right away it has to be two negative numbers, R minus something else. And the two numbers that multiply together to give us positive 30, but add together to give us negative 11 are negative 6 and negative 5. Negative 6 times negative 5 is 30. Negative 6 plus negative 5 is negative 11. I didn't show the check over here, but if you check it, you'll get this answer. Don't forget there should be a factor of 2 in front. So there's 3 factors when you're all done. 2 is one of the factors. The next factor is r minus 6 in parentheses, and the next factor is r minus 5 in parentheses. So for this one, you had to factor by grouping. The first two terms, x cubed plus x squared, has a common factor of x squared. And in parentheses, you'll have two terms such that when you multiply them by x squared, you get x cubed plus x squared, and that will be x plus 1. Now, in the second set of parentheses, you should also have x plus 1 as your common factor. And this is x plus 1 when you multiply it by negative 4. So negative 4 is the GCF for the last two terms. So that comes outside here. And in the parentheses, it'll be x plus 1. So when you're all done, you put x squared and negative 4 together in one set of parentheses, and x plus 1 in the next set of parentheses. But x squared minus 4 is the difference of two perfect squares. So this can be broken down some more. This is x plus 2 times x minus 2. So we have these three factors when we're all done. We should have x plus 2 times x minus 2, which will give us x squared minus 4, but then we have to multiply that by x plus 1 to get what we started with here. And for number 3, there's only a greatest common factor of 5x, and when you factor out the 5x greatest common factor, you're left with in parentheses x squared plus 16. This is the sum of two squares. I can't do anything with it. I just have to leave it. So I'm done. This is what it factors. Okay, like we said with number 3, it's the sum of two squares left here, not the difference of two squares, so I just have to leave it alone. Let's go to number 4. For number 4, the leading coefficient here was 2, not 1. So I need to find two factors of 2x squared. Two things multiplied together give me 2x squared as the first things in each set of parentheses. And as the second thing in each set of parentheses, I need to find factors with a constant term, 8. It's either 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. There's no other way to multiply these. And I know they're all positive because these are all positive signs. So I can't even try negative 1 and negative 8, negative 2 and negative 4. I can't try that. So it's all positive. So I'm going to have 2x plus something, x plus something. And what I have to do is just guess and check. I guessed because I know when you leave it as 2x plus 1 times x plus 8, 2x first terms will give us 2x squared. That's what we want. But outer will give us 2x times 8, and that'll give us 16x. Inner will give us 1 times x, and that's 1x. So 16x plus 1x will add up to 17x. And of course, the constant terms multiplied together, the last terms first, outer, inner, and last will give us positive 8. For number 5, pull out the greatest common factor first. Both terms are divisible by 4, and both terms have a in them, and the lowest exponent is 2. So it's going to be 4a squared as my greatest common factor. To find out what goes in the parentheses, divide each one of these terms by 4a squared. When you divide this by 4a squared, you'll have 36 over 4 is 9. And a times a times a times a divided by a times a, they'll cancel out. Two of them will cancel, and you'll end up with a times a, or a squared. And negative 4a squared divided by positive 4a squared is just going to be negative 1. It's almost like dividing by itself. But we're not done factoring completely yet. We haven't factored completely because this can be broken down some more. This is the difference of two perfect squares. What multiplied by itself is 9a squared? That's 3a. So that's the first thing in each set of parentheses. What multiplied by itself is 1? That's 1. And then, so because it's the difference of two squares, I know I'm going to have a positive sign and a negative sign. So 3a plus 1 times 3a minus 1 multiplied together will give me 9a squared minus 1. But I also have to include the factor of 4a squared. So this breaks down, 36a to the fourth minus 4a squared breaks down to three things being multiplied together. 4a squared. I don't need a parentheses because there's only one term, but you can put it. It doesn't matter. This is two terms, so I do need parentheses, 3a plus 1. And the last term is 3a minus 1. Okay, and remember, if you have any questions, you can always contact your teacher and arrange for a Google Meet if you still are a little unsure as to why these work out. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions if you're struggling. It usually takes 15 minutes in a Google Meet to get your questions answered. It's really quick. Have a splendid week, guys.